Hey friends, Jess Gardner here, and today's guest is someone you absolutely need to meet. I'm sitting down with Jeff Swiderski from Annie Mac Home Mortgage. He's one of my absolute go-to lending partners. Jeff brings incredible value to the table, especially with Annie Mac's exclusive Cash to Keys program, which is helping buyers make competitive cash offers even when financing. We'll also be talking about how networking through BNI and our private networking group is building strong local connections without the heavy cost. You're definitely going to want to hear what Jeff has to share. So let's jump right in.
Once again, I'm here with Jeff Swiderski from Annie Mac Home Mortgage, and we're going to talk a little bit about him, his career, networking, and I'd love to introduce you to Jeff.
Everything in between.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Again, Jeff Swiderski with Annie Mac Home Mortgage's Momentum Group. Happy to be here. I've been in mortgage lending since 2011, which is crazy to say at this point. But here we are. And yeah, again, happy to help with any questions, information, really anything in between. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. So can you tell me what inspired you to get into the lending industry?
I went to school for finance, so kind of always knew that was the path. Just wasn't exactly sure, where. And real estate just kind of always spoke to me because it's a significant wealth driver for the middle class, and that's of course where my heart lives. So it just kind of made sense, and started my career and never looked back.
Nice. So why Annie Mac Home Mortgage?
So coincidentally, I actually followed the leadership team here more than anything originally.
Okay.
Of course, did a lot of due diligence on the company, things they offered, all of that. But at the end of the day, who you work for matters, who you work with matters. It's where you spend a ton of your time of your adult life. So that was always important to me. And, they just have a great family atmosphere. We are very, very collaborative. It's an industry where things can certainly feel separate. I'm sure you feel that sometimes. You're an individual agent or an individual lender,
Right.
but we really collaborate. We lean on each other, so it kind of shortens learning curves with different things too, especially around guideline changes and things like that. So it's just a great place to work together.
Nice. So what do you love most about helping people through the mortgage process?
My default answer is always education. I love it from top to bottom. Whether it's talking through budget with someone, even really looking through what makes the most sense. Does it make sense to put that much money down on a house, or could you actually put less down and then invest the rest? Kind of playing that game. So there's just a ton on the education side where I really think it helps clients, but it also helps them build even beyond the transaction into their future.
Nice. So what sets Annie Mac apart, and can you tell us a little bit about Cash to Keys?
Yes,
Which I
glad
love.
you asked. So Annie Mac, our philosophy is really to help you stand out from the crowd in a very competitive market. There can be 10, 20, I'm sure you've seen more offers on a house in this market still. So we wanted to really move the financed buyer into a position where they could compete with cash. And that's where Cash to Keys comes in. So we'll back that mortgaged offer after it's fully underwritten. We're more than confident in that client closing. We'll back that with our own cash through Annie Mac Private Equity. And that gives them just a significant leg up in terms of, of course, winning that bid, but also negotiating power. There's just so much that goes into that. So, that's certainly a major reason.
I've witnessed that firsthand. It works. So how important is it for buyers to get pre-approved?
Yeah, I mean, it's the most important. There's a lot to be said for, how to know what your budget is. A lot of times people will say, well, what am I pre-approved up to? And, they want a dollar amount, but this.
There's more that goes into it.
Yeah, exactly. If you bought a house in Westerly or Charlestown, your taxes are significantly lower than if you bought a house in, Exeter, Hopkinton, Richmond, pick your poison. So, is your buying power the same? Really, no, because dollar for dollar, the taxes are so different. So having a preparedness plan and, not just on the budget side, but, how you should allocate your assets. Does it make sense to pay off debt, or does it make more sense to save that money? There's a lot that can go into it. So yeah, absolutely worth it to start sooner than later. And that way you, again, have that leg up. Getting approved for Cash to Keys or something like that takes a little bit of time because there is an underwriting process. So it's just, all to the client's benefit to be prepared.
For sure. The sooner the better.
Yes.
We found out with that program in particular, but definitely the sooner the better. So you're involved in some networking and community type events. Can you tell me a little bit about BNI, how that's benefiting your business and collaboration with other
Yeah,
companies?
of course. I mean, I call you the Jill of all trades because
Right.
you wear so many hats, professionally, which is awesome. And I think it matters to have that sphere around you. I guess is the right way to put it. You want to have trusted professionals. You want to be able to refer your clients to someone that you know. Anyone can Google, good electrician around here, and you're really hoping for the best.
Yeah, luck of the draw there.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know.
When you know your electrician and you've actually worked with him, and you can feel good about who you're sending to that client. Now you're more than just a professional that helped me once. It's an ongoing relationship where you're still supporting them in their next plumbing issue, whatever it is, whatever
Right.
it comes down to. So for me, that's what BNI offers, or any networking group for that matter, is opportunity to build deeper relationships so that that person is going to be there for your clients moving forward.
Absolutely. I agree. So where do you see your career in the mortgage industry going in the next 5 years with your crystal ball?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a loaded question. So business cycle wise, it's kind of a game of who knows. Debt levels are always the highest they've ever been, right? Like that's what debt does, it grows. So it's always interesting to wonder what that's going to look like in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. Is it going to reshape financial markets? Obviously, everybody watches the news. There's so much turmoil with
Right.
the US's economy versus China's economy and what that's going to look like in 5 months, let alone 5 years. So I think it's back to the preparedness plan. I think there's a lot to be said for investing early and investing often, because that's what really is going to set you apart and give you a leg up to enjoy the later years of your life.
Okay. And one more, what advice would you give someone who's interested in becoming part of the mortgage industry, a lender?
Ooh, I love that question. So I would say study every aspect of it because there's so much to it. Whether it's the actual economic side, the real estate side. I like to understand as much of whatever I'm kind of enthralled in at the moment. So that would be my recommendation. Is number one, build strong relationships. I think that matters more than anything.
For sure.
Collaborating. It's going to make for a happier career. But I think beyond that, just really understanding what you're doing and how it impacts people, because at the end of the day, you can look at anything as a job, but you're impacting the most significant
Definitely.
financial decision that someone's going to make in their life in most cases. So yeah, I think it's important to never stop learning.
I agree, absolutely. So rapid fire, lightning round, coffee or tea?
Both.
And dream travel destination?
The Galapagos Islands, for sure.
Love it. And favorite Rhode Island beach or restaurant?
I'm going with Nana's and River Bar.
Okay, good choices.
Love their food, love their ingredients.
For sure.
Yeah.
Anything else you would like to tell my readers in my newsletter today?
So yeah, I mean, getting back to collaboration, I think having trusted professionals in your corner matters. Having a good, solid team around you is going to help make really any decision easier. Whether that's working on your house, you trust a contractor, you trust their subcontractors. They know them, they've worked with them, they've seen their work. Same thing in a real estate transaction. How well the realtor, the lender, the insurance agent, the attorney works is what's going to make your entire experience better. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for having a solid team around you.
I agree. I never push anyone to work with a certain person. I always say, it's completely up to you, but these are the people I know and trust.
Absolutely. So, and you work with them the most.
Right.
You've seen it in action.
You want a smooth transaction, you should probably listen to me. If you don't listen to me, we'll find out.
We're flipping coins.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It's great talking to you today.
You too, Jess.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for watching today's interview with Jeff Swiderski. I hope you enjoyed learning more about Annie Mac Home Mortgage, the Cash to Keys program, and the power of building strong business relationships through smart networking. If you'd like to connect with Jeff or learn more about how he can help you in your real estate journey, all his contact information is linked below. And of course, if you or someone you know was thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, I would love to be your trusted resource. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned. We have even more inspiring local spotlights coming your way. I'll see you next time.